Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for today, leading up to the second half for The Walking Dead Season 9. In this one, we're going to give our thoughts first on whether or not we think that Negan will be a villain or a good guy, a friend or foe. And spoiler warning, as per usual, if you guys are not cut up for The Walking Dead, which is up to The Walking Dead Season 9's mid-season finale. So I thought this would be a good one for us to give our thoughts on. Why don't we just do it now? You know, we do have a while before The Walking Dead eventually returns here, February 10th, next freaking year, 2019. So it's going to be a bit of a wait. But that said, you know, there are a number of things, I think, for us to cover or to give our thoughts on before the second half of the season premieres, right? So this is a big one. Obviously, in the mid-season finale, we have Negan Escaping, and it's one of the highlights of the episode for me personally, as you guys might expect. You know, that's just like icing on the cake. You know, you have the Whisperer stuff, you have Jesus and everything, and Negan escaping or getting free was just it was just part of it. It was awesome. So this one is not so easy to say, right? You know, based on the current situation of the Walking Dead television series, we know a few things. Okay, here's what we know so far, basically. Spoiler warning for the comics if you don't want to know what route this takes in the comics. So far, Negan's post-war storyline, and even in the war too, there was a number of differences, but it ended just about the same as, well, somewhat the same as it did in the comics. However, in the volume, The Walking Dead, Volume 24, Life and Death, they have basically adapted this part right here, where Negan says, "Hold the fucking phone," when his cell gate is basically accidentally left open, and he has the opportunity to escape should he want to. Now, the difference between the television series version and the comic version is, in the comic version, he stays. Yeah, I'm serious. If you haven't read it, this is serious. He stays. I didn't get that wrong. I'm not lying. He does. You can see right here. He stays, and then Rick comes to visit Adam, and Rick kind of realizes that, you know, he could just have left if he wanted to. In the comics, he says, "Someone didn't lock my cage. I could have walked the fuck out. I didn't trust." So, Rick, you expect me to trust you? And so, but obviously Rick can see that, you know, if the cell gate is open or whatever, it's like, you know, so Rick then click-clack locks the cell after that. But, you know, it is to say something in the comic book series version that is quite a bit different from the television series, in that in the television series, the first chance Negan has got to leave, and the cell is accidentally, or maybe we'll cover that in a video this week a little bit later on, whether or not it was on purpose or if it was an accident. I read it as an accident when I watched the episode, but some people have suggested that as a topic, so we can go through that and I can watch it back again and we can give our thoughts on that. But the first opportunity Negan has to leave and to escape, in the television series version, unlike the comics, he does. They've also basically said, you have Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's kind of done some interviews around this one. He said that he doesn't really read the Walking Dead comic book series anymore. I'm sure he did. I think he's got all the issues, but he's purposefully not going through them because he doesn't want it to kind of influence the television series version of Negan, because unless it sounds to me like he's avoiding it as best as he can try to know what happens in the comic book series version of Negan, because the television series version is going to be much different. You know, it's going to be totally different, and rightfully so. Rick isn't there like he is in the comics. The Saviors aren't there like they were in the comics at this time. So it's going to be a different interpretation. It's going to be a different version. And given this opportunity for him to escape, he's taken it right away. He hasn't decided to regain Rick's trust by staying there and doing whatever he's doing. He's got Gabriel taking care of him, which is also different. At least, you know, without having Rick there, it's quite a bit different from the comic version, because it's sort of like in the television series version, Gabriel is there instead of Rick, who's tending to him. So it's a lot different, you know, when you think about it in terms of that. So, long story short, will it be different with regards to him being a friend or foe to the survivors? Will Negan change his ways? Will he come back again as a hardcore villain, or will he change his ways and become somewhat more of an ally. And there are some other interviews as well, too, where they've kind of given their thoughts on this one. And Angela Kang, I think, has done one as well, too, where I'll paraphrase, but I think she said something along the lines of that it was going to be, different for Negan, and that they might go different routes. So, but we'll see. But don't quote me on that one, because I'd have to reference the article. We'd have to go through specifically what she said, quoted, and then dissect it down and everything. So it's tricky to say, right? It's been different so far, but of course, in the TV series version, you don't have Rick there, so there's even more space, I think, to have another ally, hero type of character in the series. With Negan, you'd probably go with like an anti-hero. But of course, you have the Whispers there, so they're a super strong villainous threat. I don't know if you really need Negan to be a villainous threat as well, to be a villain out there in the world as well, too. So I do think in the TV series, even though it started off a little differently, I'm expecting to see Negan change his ways and to sort of be an ally at this point. But there's a lot of unknowns that come into play here. Maggie, of course, in the television series version, we don't know if she's going to return next year for season 10. If she does, and she finds out that Negan has escaped, what is she going to do as a result of that? I mean, she might take up a whole group right away and go after him to find him. Would he ever be able to kind of win back, or maybe not win back, but get Maggie's forgiveness for what he did prior? I don't think so. No matter what he does, because that was her husband, that was her her baby's father and everything with Glenn. So a lot of questions about the TV series and the way things could go differently here. They could also make him a villain. I mean, they could do whatever they want. They could have him be a villain and maybe have him be out there for a while, have the Whispers be a threat, and then have him come in as a threat, because the joint surviving group is pretty big in terms of the different locations and everything. And then maybe you have him have like a mini story arc or something, like a half season in season 10 or 11 or something like that, and then have him killed off at that point if JDM wants to move on from the Walking Dead series and not continue to be Negan. Because if he wants to, he might be able to continue the role of Negan for many more years. He might be able to continue the role of Negan into seasons like 11, 12, 13, that type of deal, if he wants to. And it's probably going to be down to, depending on what he wants to do, whether or not he sees the character changing his ways and becoming like a friend type of character without the saviors being there, without anyone to lead. What do you guys think about his actions? Do you think he'll try to, Governor style, season 4, rebuild some other group and take charge of another group? Like, I've seen some online theories and some sites think that maybe he'll try to take over the Whispers or something, which could be kind of cool. Negan leading the Whispers or something, if he could find a way to do it Governor style. It'd be I don't know. It'd be interesting, that's for sure. Negan versus Beta, or Negan in charge and then Beta, I don't know, fighting for, like a Simon Negan situation. So there's lots of different possibilities on how they could go different with this one in the television series. And for now, I'm just kind of expecting it to be somewhat similar to the comics, in that I think he'll probably help Daryl out and the others. Because I think if you look at both sides, which side is there more space on right now? Is there more side on the villain side, or is there more side on the hero survivor side? And I think there's definitely, with Rick leaving, more space on the survivor side. So there's probably, and also with Jesus too, and Maggie as well. I mean, just look at the season, right? You're losing so many people from that hero side that if they made him an awesome anti-hero, that could really, really work well for the series. And at least have him, lead a few episodes here and there a season, which would be really cool. Whatever they decide to do with his story. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping they do kind of a hero, anti-hero version of Negan, a Vegeta type of situation. That's what I'm hoping they go with. But certainly if JDM wants to leave, they could definitely go with the other option. But it brings to question who's a bigger bad. Is it Negan, Alpha, Beta? Like who right now sticks out to you guys as the biggest villain in this series? I'd say probably Beta. Overall, based on what we're going into in this back half. Like, I don't think Negan could take Beta by himself. Also, the TV series version of Negan is a little bit different. So he kind of, like, JDM kind of comes across as really, like, even more jokey in a lot of ways than the comic version. So I don't think he'd be able to take Beta down one-on-one. I don't see it. I don't think so. That said, Lucille gives him special powers and all that stuff. And he's got to get Lucille back, man, right? That's going to be awesome. So, link will be in the description from HollywoodReporter.com so you guys can check it out. JDM on Negan's Escape Explains. So, check that out. There's my thoughts on it. Expecting him to be an ally, expecting him to be a friend, but it could be kind of cool, too, if they go the other way and they try to make him a foe. However, that would probably mean he's not on the TV series for as long because they spared him once. So if he goes the villain route again, they can't spare him again. Now they pretty much have to kill him if they beat him again, right? You guys know what I'm saying. You can't just trap him and put him back in the cell again after unless he's on the good guy side and he's okay with it and he's willing to work with it. And it makes sense that he would, because there's no saviors to lead or anything. He's going to get bored because he's an extrovert, right? So he doesn't want to be alone for long periods of time. Russ Stappen says, Trev, do you think the Oceanside had something to do with all the tension between the groups and maybe Michonne wiped them out? Haven't seen any of them after the time jump. What are your thoughts? So there's a scene in the trailer where Michonne is like screaming, she's going crazy, right? And we don't know what that's about. It looks like it's at the kingdom, but we just don't know. So I would expect for Michonne to go on a rampage. And I could be wrong in this prediction, but I would expect her to go to the kingdom, for her to, get everybody she can, get as many people on her side as she can from Alexandria or wherever else that's willing to back her and go on the hunt, because she's a warrior, as Negan said, and that's all she knows. That's what she would do. So she'd probably go out there and demand answers and find out what the hell was going on. And how this happened to Rick and how this whole thing kind of came about. And if she finds out that the Oceanside was somehow behind this, does it make sense that she could get in there and she could start, hack and slash? And we haven't seen them since the time skip, so we don't know how many of them there are. We don't know if Cindy's still there. We don't know if some of the others have been basically Michonne'd, right? We don't know if she's wiped, just like hack and slash, gone through dozens of them or something. That would be brutal to see if she did that. It'd be kind of a bit of a turn for her character, so I don't expect him to go kind of all the way there, but I am very intrigued to see what they have planned for Michonne for this flashback, if they're going to show us a flashback, and what happened during that time skip to create so much, animosity between her and Carol, because it doesn't make a lot of sense, because Carol was on Rick's side. Carol was trying to help Rick, and she was buying into Rick's plan, and she wanted to do what Rick wanted to do, which was give people a chance and everything. It kind of backfired with Jed a couple times, but Carol was in it to win it with Rick. So I don't see why Michonne would be mad at her, but maybe it's the opposite, and maybe Michonne refused to help when the kingdom needed help or something of the sort. We'll see what happens with that and how the whole thing works out. I am looking forward to getting that kind of explained, or get all the answers with regards to the X scars and just what happened. Maybe a minor villain that happened during the time skip that we'll see in an episode or two. Ben Dover says, Trev, your channel is actually growing. So thank you, Ben Dover. I appreciate it. It's for a little while, right? For a little while. It'll go back down the other way. But thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you all for subscribing. I appreciate it. Naetoru says they never had Negan listen to Easy Street in his cell. And that's true, man. I never even thought about that. You would think that Daryl would be making a special visit to Alexandria with a radio or something. Like, he would go to the sanctuary, get the frickin', whatever tape or whatever they got there, bring it to Alexandria, get Eugene on that to find a way to play it in a recorder or something, and just put it outside his cell and just play the damn thing. So there's a flashback you could see. You could see Daryl just doing this thing in an intro, and then all of a sudden you see Negan sitting there and he just plays the tape, right? So that's true. They never used that, man, but that could have been really cool if they would have brought that back for Daryl. Two Fierce Clan says, Trev, what happened to Negan's wives? And that's true, man. There's a lot of saviors that are unspoken for. There's Sherry, there's Dwight, there's pretty much, except for Jed's group, everybody that was there in prior seasons, but I wouldn't expect to ever see Sherry again. It'd be cool if we did, but I don't think we will. Dwight, I really want to see Dwight again, because I think that just makes a lot of sense to bring him back, especially with the roster being a bit smaller right now. Even though you're bringing in the Whispers, which is awesome, you could still bring Dwight back in too. I think it'd be worth it, and I think it'd fit pretty well. Paul Toomey says, meanwhile, do you think the second half will contain flashbacks to the 6-year time jump? Also, how do the Whispers function? At minimum, they have to eat, sleep, evacuate their waste go to the washroom, right? Does the comic address this? So let's start with the first part. Yes, I kind of already said earlier, I think we will see the flashbacks, and they've kind of confirmed that we will see some. So we might get an episode or two, something like that. I think that makes sense, and to be honest, I'm anticipating that because I want to see what happened. I want to understand everything. So they've brought up some interesting questions and put the characters in a good situation, but now we want to get the answers to those questions so we know. So there's a bit of mystery there, a bit of intrigue there, and what happened with Michonne and Carol and the others. So, and why there's so much tension between everybody, and Maggie too. So, but also the Whisperers functioning. So with the Whisperers functioning, it was never really explained in the comic book series how they do everything they do naturally. I mean, they're like animals, right? So I think it's interesting that Whisperers they're not walkers, they're not zombies, but they're in between. Like I said in a previous video, they're in between humanity and regular humans and sort of dehumanized animal, halfway. They're halfway between zombies and halfway between people. Because they live with the zombies, they do basically everything the zombies do, except for maybe eat raw flesh. We're not certain on that one if they do that or not. But as far as the other stuff they do, they pretty much can do it around the walkers, it sounds like to me, and the walkers don't really notice or they don't really respond. They can lie down and sleep with walkers around them, and it seems to me the walkers don't really know the wiser. Like they can lie down and go to bed, and for 8 hours or 9 hours, as long as walkers don't accidentally run into them or some shit, you know what I mean, to wake them up, they can do that and it's fine, and they don't eat them, or the walkers don't get set off that, oh my god, it's a human, I'm going to get him. The walkers are so animalistic and so trivial in terms of their mindset and their functioning, their brain functioning, that they're not able to think in that way. They're only able to think like an animal, like food. Oh, there. But they're not able to kind of figure out that if it smells like a walker, it looks like a walker, it's got the skin and everything like that, it could actually be a human. It doesn't seem to me that they're smart enough to kind of figure that out. There's only a couple times you look at guts and all that. As long as they've got all the guts and everything, they're not able to figure it out. But then once it starts to rain and the smell goes away and they start to smell raw flesh, then they go for it, right? Then it makes sense for them. So when the Whisperers are always around the dead all the time, they probably smell the same as them. They certainly look the same as them. We can't even tell the difference a lot of times, except for maybe if they stand up straight or something, which it looks like they're kind of doing in the second half, which is kind of cool. So we can tell the difference between them when they want us to. But for eating and all the rest of the stuff, yeah, man, I don't think they really do. When they go to the washroom, I mean, maybe they wander off in the woods away from the other walkers, or wait until the walkers kind of wander off and then go off and do their business, right? I think that makes sense to understand it that way. But it's not a problem for them, man. The walkers are not smart enough to really figure out that they're people, right? Underneath all that, they're just not that intelligent to figure that out. Roger Gregory says, ironic that Andrew Lincoln leaves just as The Walking Dead is getting really good again. So, yeah. Well, I mean, it's, I guess they kind of set it up for this time and his contract and everything. So it just kind of worked out that way. But, it's, I mean, to me, The Walking Dead is always good. But, with the Whisper stuff, it's really, really good. I have to agree with you. It's very exciting for the show. So happy to see it. Velshin says, thanks for the videos, and love you, man. So love you too, Velshin. Thank you guys for all the support, and the same goes for the rest of you guys. Last one. Let's see. The last one will be from Rosemary M, who says, you need to read the interview. He said he was frustrated for being so underutilized. I think she's talking about Jesus here. And that's why he was okay with a good exit. Well, I don't know if Jesus was really I don't want to upset anybody here. So I understand if a lot of you guys are like, he was underutilized, we didn't get to see this, and that, and this, and he didn't get that many action sequences and all that stuff. And that's somewhat true and everything. And if you look at All Out War, Morgan did get a lot of time going around killing everybody, and Jesus just got a few things to do and to try to convince Morgan not to kill everyone and that kind of thing. So I get what you're saying. The TV series version is definitely a different interpretation than the comics. But at the same time, I don't know, how, I don't know, man. For some reason, even when he first came in, it was exciting to see Jesus come in season 6 and everything like that. But it never quite felt the same with the TV series version as it did with the comic. And it was just different. And, personally, I thought it was good the way they handled everything. And even if he didn't want to leave, I wouldn't be mad about it anyway for them to use that as a death. I really wasn't mad about it when it first... I'm still not really mad about, the death of Glenn, for example, when Negan has to get introduced. When you want to introduce these huge villains, you got to have a pretty big character death to do it. You can't use all C or D listers and have it mean something. You have to use some of the bigger characters sometimes. So it's what it is, and I know there's a lot of people that are big fans of Jesus, would have wanted to see a lot more from him, and that's cool. But, to me, it just seems like that's just kind of the way it went, and if he did, in fact, want to leave and they hadn't written that in yet and he insisted they write it in that way, or he tell them, like, this is what I want to do, and then they went along with it. If that's the case, he probably would have gotten a lot more time in the future, especially if Lauren Cohan doesn't return as Maggie. If she never returned as Maggie, he would have gotten tons of time in the show. So sometimes you got to be really patient and you got to wait for your opportunity and then go for it. And you can't get you can't get too antsy about it. Like, you just got to wait for the right time. And I guess if that's the way he feels and everything, that it wasn't the right time, or it just didn't work out that way. But there certainly is lots of space in the series now. So if he would have known probably that all this stuff would have happened, maybe it would have been different. Maybe he would have decided, like, okay, I'll stay in longer because I can get more screen time now. I think he definitely would have gotten a lot more if that's the case. But again, it's hard to say, and we don't even know next year if Maggie's going to return, if he would have stayed lead of the Hilltop, what that would have looked like with him versus the Whispers. So there's a lot of unknowns here. There's just a lot of unknowns, and it's cool, but sometimes opportunity doesn't always come right away. Sometimes you have to be really patient to wait for it, and it's not the same for everybody. Some actors might have come into the show and got a lot of opportunity right away and just gone for it. Like JDM, for example, with Negan. Big character coming in, boom, gets a lot of it. Jesus came in, got a little bit, got some, maybe not as much as the actor wanted, but he got some, and he would have gotten a lot more if he would have wanted to stay with it, I guarantee it. So those are my thoughts on all the great questions for today. Keep sending me awesome questions, guys, and we'll keep making videos every couple days. Let me know what you think. Is Negan going to be a good guy or bad guy now and going forward? And if you like this video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and thank you all for subscribing. That's it for today's video. I'll see you guys soon for another. It's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.